Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, good morning, friends. It's the start of another week, the start of another build, and some folks have asked me from time to time, Lou, how do you select which kits you're going to build next? How do you know what you're going to build? I don't. I mean, sometimes it's quite obvious because a new kit has just come out and I'm raring to get to it. We're in between. We're in a bit of a lull right now. Supply chain issues, whatever. Not a lot of new kits coming out right now. It's first full week in December of 2021. 2021's almost over, kids. Let's see if we can all get to 2022. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be, all of our problems will magically disappear. But today I just decided to open up the stash and, you know, basically build the first box that fell out. That's what I was going to build. And I don't mind telling you, it's not a popular kit. As a matter of fact, it is notoriously unpopular. No, it's not the Kazon Torpedo. Even I would not subject you to the Kazon Torpedo for a week build. But I'm calling this a one-week wonder because I'm going to spend a week on it. I'm going to see if I can make a nice quality presentation out of it. And without much further ado, it is the Scorpion kit from Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I wouldn't blame you if you just hit the stop button and went on to your Christmas shopping or something else right now. I've had this kit for a while. Back when, you know, you buy basically every kit that came out from a movie. Nemesis, not a great movie. I'm dyed-in-the-wool Trekkie, but even I will tell you, Nemesis, not a good movie. And the kit from it, not a good kit. But we're going to see what we can do. I think I can wrestle something out of this that will be a decent presentation. It was unique when it came out in that it had, let's see if I can pull it out, it had these really not well done Picard and Data, I'm sorry, not Data, this would be B4, a stupid name, B4, but it came with these pre-painted figures, and this is going to give me the opportunity to also maybe fix some of the pre-painting on these figures to add a little bit more oomph to them. Might even try to put a light or two in it, who knows. First thing I had to do was check and make sure I've had all the parts, that they were all still here, because I opened this box, looked at the parts, cleaned them off, took them off the trees, and closed the box up and put it back in, as I'm sure many of you have, and put the box back up on the shelf, and thought to myself, what the heck have I done? I almost wanted to go get the Talking Heads clip to put it in here. Oh my God, you may be asking yourself, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah, this kit is going to get a lot of derision, and it deserves a lot of it, but we're going to see, given what I can do now with smaller lightings and iridescent paints, what we can do to maybe put some lipstick on this pig. So let's get it out, look at the parts, and see where we go from here. Like I said, it's a one-week build. It's not even going to take the full week, I can guarantee it. But let's see if we can have some fun with it, even if it's, you know, hate building. I hate to say that, but even if it's hate building, let's see if we can get something fun out of it. Okay, here are all the parts, plus the stickers, and you know how much I hate stickers. And there's not much to it. I mean, look at it. This is basically what we're looking at. Now, if you want to make it slightly more challenging, you could, I don't know, use the other side of the instructions where everything is in French. Maybe that will make it a little bit more interesting for you. Try to make it more cultural by putting some of it in French. But here we are. Nice thing about it is it's black. It's going to be a treat for light blocking. I'm going to use the landing gear with it, I think, because it's more parts, and I don't have to stand for it. And we're going to see if I could find a way to hide a little battery in here. Then there are a couple of intakes here that could be lit with a little SM LEDs. So let me look at that. And God knows the worst part of it is of all of this build will be going. Look at that horrible data color or B4 color. The worst part of all of this is I may have to pull the movie out and do some research on what it looks like in real life. You know, having the movie on Blu-ray if it weren't for the fact that it fit in a box, I probably wouldn't have it. But you know, it's marginally better than the empty spot it would leave. So let's get to work. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. It's day 2 on Operation Lipstick. And if you don't know that expression, go look it up. The thing I'm doing this morning is, you know, just because this is an ugly little ship, doesn't mean you don't do basic stuff to it. There's an ugly, big, nasty seam here at the top of these fins that needed to be puttied in before, because it is visible. Now, I've got primer on all of this so that you can see everything. The problem with black plastic is it's not easy to see all the detail. And this is a weird plastic. I don't think it's your standard styrene. I don't know if it's ABS or what, but it feels a bit weird. I was noticing a couple things on this yesterday as I was working on it. I thought it was nice that they gave Data a nice little, DVD player for the back of Picard's seat so that he could have something to do on the trip. I mean, that just struck me as one of the more juvenile things I think I've seen. But hey, that's what they gave you. I did put some washes over Data, and he already looks better. Just washes over his little jumpsuit there so that the creases look. I got to do something to lighten up that skin, that horrible color that they've chosen. But the thing I'm doing today is I'm lighting up these intakes, and I'm using green SM LEDs for 2 very compelling reasons. One, it's a Romulan ship. Romulan engines are green. 2, I have a bunch of green SM LEDs here. I don't have a wide variety of colors until I make another order. Green is what I got, so green is what I'm going to use. And since this is going to be sitting down on a base, I'm going to run the power out through the base. I'm not going to try to make any internal batteries or switches on this. And it's got this huge honking landing gear on the back here. I mean, talk about your over-designed landing gear. But this goes on the back, and there are no landing gear or pads on the front that I can determine at this point. So it looks like it just sits on its bump, sits on the front of the ship there, just sits on the hull, and it kind of rests like that, like a high heel shoe. So that's how it lives. So what I'm going to do is, much as it pains me, I'm going to revisit the movie to see the relevant scene where this is used, just to see what kind of colors are in the interior for this, which is this material here, which is sound deadening material. Any recording booth will have this lining their walls, but that kind of goes inside there and finishes off the inside of the cockpit. I've got to, there we go, let's do that. So this is the sound deadening material that goes in the inside wall here. I just need to see whether it is gray or whether it has a color to it. And then we can finish off the dash here. I'm not going to try to light any of those. If they had given us that in clear, I might have been tempted, but because they didn't, I won't. So there. The thing I was doing that I was starting to talk about was putting the green lighting in the engines here. Now let me touch this to a battery, and as you can see, this is kind of what it looks like. Come on. There you go. That's kind of what it looks like. Now there is a problem with the insert in that because it has a retaining pin on it, you can't frost that part. You can only frost the head of it. You can't frost that whole retaining part, so it's not going to disperse the light very evenly. It's this area here, right where that is. You can't, I mean, I can buff up the back of it, and I can buff up the front of it with sandpaper and all of that, but in that area, and because we need it to glue to the walls, I can't simply just get rid of it and clean it off that way. I do kind of need it. So this is one of those instances where you are wanting to scratch up the plastic. Normally you're trying to keep windows and clear parts clear, but this you're actually trying to frost, so you get the sandpaper out, and then what you can't sand, you get a file out. There you go. You find a good angle on this thing. The way it's curved, it's a tough angle to sand, but if you wrap it around your wee finger, you can do it that way. But this will make the two intakes, and then what I'm going to do is just fish this wire down through the rest of the ship, wrap it around the overly complicated landing gear, and then we'll stick it down through the base. I'm thinking intakes on both, because they go like this on the side. So I'm thinking both of these intakes will get the green light. Maybe a light inside the cockpit of maybe another green, who knows. And these areas here that also have clear, I think I may try putting a blue bulb behind there, because I've got some tiny blues, but I would need to cut out this area and then just line it behind it. It makes its own box, kind of. Let me see where the other part is for that. That is, it's not that one, it's this one. So by the time you cut this out, you could use that as the backing for it. We'll see how it works. Alrighty, I'm back from lunch and resumed work on the Scorpion for today. I've just put in a segment of blue LED lighting there, which I will, let me see if I can hook this up. Yeah, get the power to it. Actually, I will use the handy clips here. There, we got a segment of lighting. And by the time we put the correct piece over it, we put this piece over it, you'll get a nice blue glow out of it. Now I'm going to sing it with me. I'm going to put some fiberfill over that just to block it down a bit. I have roughed up the plastic there to make it less, or make it more frosted. So now I just need to run that wiring out through here so that I can run it into the body, and then we will join it up with the green lighting that I have done on the intakes, or on those side engines, and we'll have a colorful little thing before we're done. Yeah, I'm working on the second wing now, and I put fiberfill in the first wing, but truthfully it made such little difference that I'm not going to bother putting it in this wing. I'll light the two of them up side by side and see how it looks, but really because the top is so close to that, by the time you put the cover down on it, is so close that even that little bit of fiberfill you still see. Now I'm concerned that if I don't, it's not going to match the look of the other, and this is really more work than I was planning on incorporating into this little sow's ear of a kit. But now that I'm into it this far, I can't help but not try to do it some justice. So let me, oh, I can see that's coming up. Let me put a spot of the MEK on here. This, again, this plastic is not your regular stock styrene, but it does like the MEK does like it. So it's got a bit of the old Flash-A-Rama on it, so get that stuff cleaned up. But once you put the two halves of the wing together, I'm going to need to putty that edge. So let me grab just the tiniest bit of fiberfill and push it in there. Okay, once again I come out to the trusty library and pull out the Blu-ray of the movie to check my sources. A big old glare from the window, pay no attention to that. We can see that there is a blue light here. That light should be warm white, but I'm making mine green anyway. The top Scorpion gun is more of a gunmetal, while this is a bluish black or a very dark gray. It's got a foothold right there for the crew to get up into the canopy, but I don't think that's on the kit. And also, right there at the front, in that scoop, there is no detail there. In the model, they've got like a little part that is supposed to go there, but it's not there in this rendering. So I'm not going to put it there because I thought it was kind of clumsy to do it in the first place. But there's the foothold. I don't think that's in the kit. The blue light, of course, and the white light. Now I couldn't make out too much of the interior from what was shown, so we're just going to do that in various dark grays and gunmetals. The seats look like they were a glossy black leather, so we'll just do that. And the gun up there is more of a silver gray and sticks out from the color of the rest of the ship. Okay, amongst the other things that I learned from watching that clip, no, it was not B4. That was actually Data. Why he's dressed, I can't remember why he's got B4's fashionable jumper on, but it's not. It's not. It is Data. Secondly, see, here's that area that they wanted to put a detail in, and it wasn't there. We just saw, here's what that detail looks like. Like, nope, that's wrong. That doesn't go there by any stretch. And the third thing was, there was no third thing. Oh no, the third thing was, this was clearly supposed to be lit as a rear engine or something, but since no clear part was provided, we will not be lighting that. And it's kind of tough to get in there and clean that out. I wish it were, because it looked like it was a dome, and this is solid flat. To drill that out would be more work than I want to put into this kit, so we're not going to do it, but we are going to leave these green. I think green is actually going to look better. Now the interior did have some lights down the sides here, but I'm not going to be able to duplicate that given the materials at hand either. So we are going to paint up this interior and get the seats done, and that will be the next thing we put in place. Looking at the part, I do see that there's a little indent there. I guess that's meant to be the foothold, but it's the wrong shape. It should be smaller and more of a rectangle than that slit is. So, you know, at least they tried. Okay, I'm going to wrap up for today, but I think the last big showy thing to do would be to take these four wings. What was that, Mr. Take these broken wings, learn to fly again. Yes, the 80s, they are calling. I want to dress up these seams here that will need. They will be needing some putty, but I think what I'd like to do is to go ahead and put all of these onto this body part, and then whatever puttying I need and seam filling I can do at one shot. So put these in. Yeah, it's going to sit like that. And then the front one goes on like that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put these 4 panels on, and then even so much as to go ahead and put those on as well. But I need to map out where the hole needs to be drilled so that I can run that wiring in. So that's the last bit of work we'll do today. There she is with the blue and the green lights in. Now, for some reason, they don't look a whole lot different from each other on the camera, but in real life, that's obviously green and blue. This is not light leak, this is shine. So I need to, there's a lot of that be taken care of by the top coats, but only a little bit of this is actual light leak. This is a natural plate breakup. There's no smooth joint there, so you're going to see light leaking up around it. But I like that better than I do the one that's in the movie. Yeah, I think that'll be just fine. Something tells me I want to put a red inside the cockpit, though. There was a scene where Picard is targeting. He was targeting the inside hangar bay door, and this screen switched from a green to a red. And the screen is solid, so I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. That's the screen right there. But maybe I can put a red one in the floorboard somewhere and have it shine up on his face. That might do the same effect. Or maybe I can put one inside the frame here. Well, no, I can't, because it would have to be back of that. We'll work on that tomorrow. But yeah, for today, that's a good amount of work. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday. Work is continuing here on the little Scorpion. And have no fear, it may look like it's blue because I painted it with blue paint, but that is not its final color. I needed a good dark base color to put over everything, just so I could see where the patching needed to be done and where the sanding needed to be done. And unfortunately, I was out of the black. I have to go pick up some more black Tamiya. Now, there's a little hobby shop not too far away from my house that doesn't have a great stock of Tamiyas, but at least they've got the basics. I'm sure they'll have some flat black. And then I'll be able to start mixing up what my final colors are going to be. But that blue undertone is not too far off. I do want to try playing with some of the iridescence and the color shifts and all of that, because I had such fun on the Kodan ship. My brain is not engaged yet this morning. I'm sorry. I had so much fun on the Kodan ship that I want to play with that a little bit more. Plus, if you remember Nemesis, if you haven't blocked it from your mind, Tom Hardy's character and the Romulan/Reman design had a lot of blue-green iridescent colors in their armor. So it's not too far of a stretch to think it would carry over into the Scorpions a bit. So that's where I'm coming from on that. But I wanted to get a nice black exterior on it first. I'm still thinking about adding a light in the cockpit area. These lights are obviously covered up so that they don't get any paint on the clear bits. But I'm trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to add just a little hint of a color to the interior. And I'm thinking of doing that with a tiny red nano SM LED. I just have to think about carving out the screen here to make that work. So between that and lining up the colors and waiting for it to get a little bit later in the day before I go to that hobby shop. Now the problem is it's an ugly day. It's a rainy day and a Wednesday, and it's just blah outside. So I don't want to go out for much more longer than I have to. So I'm trying to think of what's going to be a good color for that color shift. I've got a good purple here. I've got that green that I used on the Kodan ship. I wish I had a dark blue. I don't think that I do. I'll have to see what I've got and how it looks on the various colors. But I think that purple over the black might be the trick that I'm looking for. Now over the, I have been working on the figures a bit, and I put a gloss on the chairs. These chairs actually look better than the ones in the movie. In the movie you can see they're very cheap gaming chairs. They've got the two little cutouts here that go all the way through, and you can just tell it's obviously a GameStop gaming chair that you're using. It was also the Scorpion figures in about a minute of the entire movie is a scene with the Scorpion. So for a set that you're seeing for a minute, I think they probably the appropriate amount of time and attention in it. Okay, this is the kind of look I'm going for as far as putting a red light back up in here and having it shine up on Picard. Sorry, keep the camera still. I just don't know how far back I want that bulb to be. Now I still have this screen blocking the way, so I think if I cut out the bottom of it, that's going to allow some of that light to shine up. It doesn't need to be glaring in his face, but I would like more than just a hint of it, so that's blocking a little too much. So I think we need to cut this frame out. But yeah, by the time you put this over top of it, that isolates that light quite nicely and makes a good balance to the green and blue bulbs that you'll see back here. Again, the more I realize that, the more I work with this, the more I realize it's such a shame that that back bit is not going to be able to be lit up. It would involve carving that out and rebuilding it, which, if it weren't so hard to get to, might be a thing to do, but that's just really hard to get to. If that insert had been a separate piece even, then it would have been more doable. But here we have the what I call Data in the baby seat, because he's got the screen in front of him so he can watch his Blue's Clues in the back chair there. So yeah, let's tighten some of this stuff down and get this cut open. Righty, I'm back from lunch and some errand running and some Christmas shopping, and oh Lord, it's a madhouse out there. A madhouse! Go on an off-peak hour if you can. So I'm happy with the colors that I'm eventually going to be painting this. It's got the black most of the time, and then when you hit it and the light just right, it's got that purple coming up, which is how I want it. Which it basically to me a black, no surprise there, and then not this color shift over, because this actually turns green. This violet, which I thought I would be using, it turns green and then violet. I want this, which is pearl then violet, and a very light coat of it. This was actually too much, so I had to spray a black over top of it to kind of knock it back down. But I'm to the point now where I think everything else that is left I can do from the outside. So I want to go ahead and put these two chunks together, and everything else I can address going straight down through there. So I'm warming up the soldering iron so that I can join these sets of wire together, and then the wire that is going to be coming up through the landing gear and then down and out through the base, but then also up through the bottom here where the landing gear attaches, and joining all the rest of that. So let me do that, and then we'll be ready to put these two halves together, and I'll report back to you after that's done. Okay, so the bottom is joined to the top. I've got two wires running out the landing gear here that I will be camouflaging, hopefully. There's some seam work that needs to get done. I have this pretty big gap right in here that I can fill in with a wee bit of putty, but I want to give this a chance to dry. This PVC that this is made out of is not the friendliest plastic when it comes to using traditional paint or traditional glues on, so I'm having to use more CA than I'm comfortable with on a kit of this size. But it seems to be the only way that some of these gaps are going to close and stay closed. So I'm going to get the CA and a little bit of kicker out, squeeze these things together, run a bead down it. And let's see, get a Q-tip, wipe that seam, dribble a little kicker on it, and the kicker will run right down that seam, which is what we want to have happen. That holds that together nicely. Okay, so we're going to let all that dry for a bit. Let me see if I need to fill in some gap on this side. I think I do. This will take some Tamiya putty and some sanding. But, you know, it's only Wednesday. I've got a couple more days this week. It's not in a rush. We'll let that sit up and then we'll fill it in. Don't let the presence of a top coat fool you. We're many stages away from being finished. Morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. And it's the gateway to finishing this kit because we are almost done. Took a little bit more time out this morning to work on the figures. And you know, these figures aren't half bad if you completely repaint them. What's underneath is not all that bad. It's just the horrible garish paint jobs that they came with. Subtlety is not in these people's wheelhouse. So I was able to paint them up into something a little bit more acceptable, I think. Still not all the detail in the world on them, but I think they look a little bit better. Now overnight, the last of the puttying that I did on this has dried. I sanded it this morning and did a little bit of trying to cover over. There's some bit here I didn't get into, so sand up that last bit underneath the wing. And then we're going to be ready for the final top coats. Now, I mixed up a coat because the hobby shop yesterday that I thought certainly has black. Certainly they'd have the basic color of black. They did not have the black that I was looking for. I did pick up some flat black, of course, but I was hoping to find some semi-gloss black. They did not have any, so took my old jar of semi-gloss black and I mixed it half and half with regular black and, regular black and flat black. So hopefully that is going to give me the semi-gloss. And what I want to do is put a base coat of semi-gloss of black over this. And then I want to hit it with the light coat of the purple color shift stuff. And then maybe go over it with a top coat or a very light coat of the black again if I need to. What I'd like it to do is have obviously not a glossy appearance, not like a brand new car type of glossy appearance, but I don't want it to be flat either. So, you know, hence the term semi-gloss. That's the ultimate look I'm going for, is a semi-gloss. And then we are left with nothing but deciding what kind of base to put this on. Now it has this big old honkin' landing gear and then nothing up front. So I'm thinking if I put it on a little plinth of something, then I can run the power out to a little box, sort of like I did with the Kodan Fighter. But I don't need to make it nearly as elaborate or huge because it's about half the size of the Kodan Fighter. Let's get rid of that little piece of stuff on the sanding stick. And I'm just sanding over the last bits of the putty joints. And we should be able to finish this up mostly today. Like I said, it's Thursday. Got one more day this week, so if I finish this up, and then that will give me tomorrow to kind of come up with a stand, and we'll go from there. But let's get the paint out that I mixed this morning and give this thing a base coat. Alrighty, I've got the nice first glamour coat on, and that is this semi-gloss black mixture. And we're going to allow that to dry, and then come back to it and do the first very light pass of the pearl color shift, or the purple color shift, this guy right here. And then we're going to show it's nice and mixed up so that the pigment is evenly distributed. And then we're going to come back and do a light coat of this, and then see how much of the black I might need to put back over top of that. That's about the finish I like. I would like it to be a little bit glossier than a flat, but maybe not as high gloss as these chairs are. It looks like that now because it's still wet, but we're going to see what it looks like when it dries. And I am trying very much to keep this canopy clean and away from all of the harm that might befall it. I will glue it in last, and probably attach it with some canopy glue to keep it from hazing up like it would if I used any CA or anything. But there you go, very much like that. So we're going to let that dry. I've got the scorpion. You know, and amongst many of the other things that are wrong with this movie and this and the design and the writing thereof, it's very strange that the Romulans would have a beast called a scorpion that looks like this. Yes, that's an Earth scorpion where the tail comes up and there's the gun and all that. But it makes absolutely no sense that the Romulans would call their ship a scorpion. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, it still looks semi-wet because that's the nature of the semi-gloss. But now I think we are ready to put on the light coat of the purple color shift. So this should be fun. Okay, it looks fine. I think it's a little heavy. How much of that shows up on camera, but it looks a little heavy. So I think what I'd like to do is just give a pass of the black back over top of that, just to see if that would knock it down. We'll start on the bottom, of course, because that's the least visible, and if I'm going to make a mistake, I'd rather do it on the bottom. Easier to fix that way, particularly since it's going to be sitting very low on a base. But we're going to give this a quick pass and see if we can knock some of that back. Yeah, that's a little more subtle now. That's what I was hoping for. Okay, so let's flip this over and do the top. Okay, I think I'm happy with my finish. I found a little bit. I had one of these jars in the rack there. It's a green gold, cold blue, but it didn't have the heavy carrier. The heavy. See, this is just an obvious gold violet, but I mean, you can see that it's a heavy purple base to it. These are the ones that have like a white base to it, and all they are is the reflective crystals or metal flakes in there, and they don't have a heavy colored base. So you could put that on your kit without coloring. Basically, it goes on clear until it hits the light, and I have just a little bit of green in there now to add to the purple, and that gives me just the look I was hoping for. So now that we're done with this, there's a little bit of retouching I need to do on that strut for the landing gear, and we could start assembling the cockpit. Put the chairs in, put the figures in, and button it up and be done. So it's coming down to the short rows, as they used to say. So let's get these chairs in, and then we'll put the characters. I think Data needs to go in with his chair because he is so ensconced and looks so happy and comfortable. I wonder if it's worth putting Picard in his chair. Yeah, we'll put Picard in his chair and then put the whole thing down in at one time. I think that'll work much better that way. Okay, good. The last bit of tricky work is going to be getting this cockpit glass installed and keeping it clean at the same time. Okay. I don't think we're going to, well, we are going to have to glue a bit of it because it needs to, actually the frame will hold it in place. No, we don't need to glue that cockpit glass in if I glue the frame in. Lovely. Okay, so let's put the cockpit together, and I'm running out of things to do. One last job to do is to put on these impossibly oversized stickers, not decals, stickers, into the cockpit panels, and yeah, they're way oversized, and it's not like a decal where if something is oversized then it will kind of sink down in to the depressions and fill in. No, these are oversized and thick and will not bend the way you want them to bend. So we're just gonna put them in place over top of where they need to go, treat them with all the love and respect they deserve, which is not a lot. And like I said, they're just way oversized. So put them in place, stick them down, hope nobody will notice how nasty they are. And it's really strange, for as prominent as these main screens are, they didn't include anything for that. So the only ones that are really handy are the ones that go up here and here. The rest of these are superfluous, is probably the best, kindest description I can give. They are unneeded, unnecessary, unloved, unwanted, unattractive. They are a bunch of uns. We'll try to make some use out of them. The ones I'm kind of concerned about are the big ones that go on the wings here, because those are just going to be big, fat, oversized, overly thick decals, and I'm wondering if we'd be better off without them. I mean, they're kind of interesting, and they would go on like that, but I just don't know if they would take away from the look of the thing or add to it. Now I'm going to take this last opportunity while I have this open, and before I glue this monitor in, to repaint the front of that, just to give it a sharper line here, and I am going to use some of that semi-gloss black that I cooked up to be painted in there. We are occupied. We've got a pilot and a co-pilot shoved in there, pushed down, and yes, those big old fat sticker screen decals are already failing, so off they come. Who cares? No one needs them. No one will miss them. I did notice that the canopy was having a hard time sitting on top of Mr. Data, and I realized it was not that Mr. Data was not sitting far enough down. I thought maybe he was not completely seated on his peg, so to speak. So I pushed him down and pushed him down, and then I realized it was the pin that was holding the canopy in. Even after it held the canopy in, it was sticking out way too deep. Deeper, much more deeper than it needed to be. So I just snipped the top of that pin off, and now everybody fits and everything sits lovely. And I need to make this delicate connection right here. And it's just this pin that's halfway down the length of the canopy. There's a hole in the side of the canopy for those to go into, and then everything pushes down. Now I may have to glue that from the outside, which means we also run the risk of fogging something up if we don't do it correctly. But I need to glue this down and take care of that gap. And I'll still probably have to end up taping this off so that I can repaint that area. But basically holding it down and letting the glue dry is what we're going to have to do. Okay, outside of a few touch-ups around the canopy that I'm going to have to wait for the glue to dry, we are more or less done. I got to come up with some sort of base. But let's plug her in. Turn off the overhead, and ba-bing. Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty. You have just enough red coming up out of the footwell here to light up that monitor, and then we've got the lovely, if inaccurate, green lights. I know they were warm yellow in the movie. I don't care. And the lovely blues on both sides, and the missed opportunity of having that light come out of the back. But see, you know, I have a nice red monitor there, and the reflection back on Picard is just what I was hoping for. So we're gonna let this sit, and then I'm gonna start thinking about what kind of a base to put it on. Hey everybody, it's Friday. It's the last work day of the week and the last work day on the Nemesis Scorpion. Got just a couple of details to finish up today, and the main one is this wing logo decal. Well, it's a sticker in the kit, and it's going to be replaced by a painted. I've already traced it and redrawn it and made a painting mask for it because two very good reasons, three very good reasons. One, a ruthless efficiency. No, and a fanatical devotion to the Pope. No, two very good reasons. A, it sticks up way too far. It doesn't match the finish of the rest of the ship. It's going to fall off because the adhesive on the back of these stickers is crap. I have already seen that by the little indicators and screens that I put on the inside and how they have already failed. So I don't expect this to stay. Plus, it's not going to match the finish of the rest of it. So we're going to replace it. And that's all the reasons that I need. So I have, look, it's not even sticking when I put it back down on the sheet. It's just no good. It's no bueno. So redrawn it, and also, that was the other main reason. You'll see how it is gray. It's a gray shape with a white interior on it. Now, I don't think this is supposed to be gray and white. I think this is supposed to be gray and negative space, meaning it's a donut. And what tells me that is the illustration that is on the lid here. It shows it as a cutout, where the shape of the bird inside is the same color as the hull, and then you have an outline of the bird, and then you have that shape around it. So that tells me that that was intended to be a cutout. So rather than trying to go in and cut all that out because it's not that way on the sticker, I've decided just to go ahead and make a paint mask for it. So there's painting that. There is the final touch-up of the color shifting paint around the canopy edge where that was glued down yesterday, and I have touched up the black paint on that. And then really that's all that's left. I got to put it on as some sort of stand. Need to touch up the landing gear a little bit, and then put it on some sort of base that I can run a wire and out to a power plug. So that's the goal. That's the task for today. So the first thing I need to do is to peel these off, and what I'm going to do is very simple. I've cut extras. I'm not worried about what's going to happen if I screw something up, but that's the outside shape, and I need to make sure that that is in the proper place, and then I will put the little bird inside the center of it. But I want to map those out so that they are where they ought to be. So turn the camera off and I will do that. Okay, I have been sometimes accused of hiding the nuts and bolts of what I do and not showing the boring, mundane, nitty-gritty parts. So here you go, in all your painful detail. I've got the outer shape laid down, I think, in a nice forward-moving alignment. We're supposed to be fairly dead on. I think I've got the positioning what I like. Now all I need to do is center this little bird shape in the opening here. It's fairly self-explanatory. And there you go. Now I am ready to mask this off all around the edge. And I've got to pick a nice gray color. Obviously I go by the sticker for inspiration, but I'm not confined to that. That is a nice cool gray color. Now the box art shows it more of a purple, more of a lavender shape, a lavender color there. But it's also, you know, kind of cheating the purpleness of the whole thing. So I'm thinking what I might want to do is spray it with a light gray and then maybe go over it with the pearl purple to just give it the right amount of shine. So let me go find a good gray. Okay, so we're down to the end of it. I have sprayed the gray, which was our old favorite sky gray, and then I put a light misting of the pearl violet over top of that. And while I had that out, I misted around the black work, or the canopy joint that I put in yesterday, and then after that I misted a black back over top of it to knock it back down. So we're all done with all of the coats of the pearl colors, and we're ready to take all of our masks off for the last time. And then we'll be ready to set this on some sort of stand that is still percolating in my brain. All I know is that I need to have a place to run a power jack to it, so I'm going to have to make some sort of little box like I did for the Kodan fighter to house that jack. But here you can see all of the masking coming off, and I'm trying not to scratch the canopy. It would be I've kept it clean all along, so it would be a tragedy now at the last minute to scratch that up or fog it up or do anything with it. Now, these are the last masks here, so I'll go ahead and peel those off. Get the last bit of tape off of my blade here. Just carefully get that outside shape. Nice. And the outside shape here. Also nice. Now, I need to very delicately, and I might need to set this down. I don't know whether I can do that while holding it with one hand and then peeling the interior off with another hand. So we'll do the one that's off camera first. It's fighting me here. It's tricky. It's that weird shape of it. It doesn't want to come off all in one big piece, which is fine. I've got patience. I can do it. There you go. See? And we'll see if we can do this one on camera. But because I sprayed the pearlescent or the color shifting paint over top of that gray, then it has the same iridescent properties as the rest of the ship, rather than sticking out like a sore thumb like it would if it were a sticker or a decal. And there you go. Now the only thing left to do is to put, well, that's not true. It's not the only thing left to do. I still need to do some hand touch-up work on the metal parts of this overly obvious landing gear here on the back. That would, it's one of those things that landing gear would never, without the aid of CG, fit in the bottom of this ship. By the time you sucked it all up in there, you still have to have room for an engine here, and the landing gear would take up all of that room. But such is the nature of fantasy vehicles, where you don't have to actually account for that kind of thing. Turning my attention now to the Scorpion base, since the ship is done. I wanted to do something very simple, but also reflected the odd silhouette of it, so making it look like a little bit of decking. And so I wanted it to kind of take the shape cues from the ship itself. I don't want this to be overbearing on the shelf. I want it to take up a minimal amount of space, so I figured something that kind of hugged the curves was called for. And I need to put a little box back at the back to house the power jack. I don't even think I'm going to put a switch in it. I think we just get a simple little power jack, and that's all we need. So I need to drill a hole, which I've done, to run the wire down through the landing gear, and then it's going to travel along the bottom side and come back up and get attached to this. I'm going to put my typical black felt on the bottom of it to help it slide on the glass shelves. And that's just a simple little base. I think that's all we need. And there you have it, the finished wee Scorpion. I still cling to that. There's green lights being better than the yellow lights. And there you can see the scanner light there that lights the rest of the cockpit. This is not glued down to the base, but it is semi-wired in. One simple little jack going out of the back. And that's the jack back, or that's the back jack. And that brings us to the end of another 1 week build. You never know what will fall out of the what will fall out when you open up the stash doors and kind of do a blind grab in there and just pull out something and see what you're going to build. Been putting this off for a while. You know how anybody who has this kit knows how old it is, and we've been putting this off for a while. But I don't know why. It was a bit of a fun build once you get into it. Now, the fact that iridescent paints have come a long way certainly helped. It's one of those things where you're waiting for the right technology to catch up, and in this case it was the SM LEDs and the interference paint. But not a bad little addition to the shelf space, to the old collection. And this will take a fine, proud place next to the other. Actually, that's probably the same scale as maybe an X-Wing. Who knows? I'd have to look at the characters and see. It's tough to tell since neither Picard nor Data are wearing a flight suit. Putting that next to a Viper. Well, certainly it's bigger than a Viper. Who knows? But that's it for this week. We're getting close to Christmas. I have less and less time to build because I am trying to get stuff ready for Christmas. Our hobby group build, or a hobby group Christmas party is next week, and I am furiously getting busy to get something ready for the gift exchange for that. So until next week, y'all be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Be good to a stranger. It's good for your karma. Have fun. Be safe. Be smart. Finish your shopping. Don't stress yourself too much over the holidays. And we'll see you here next week.
I never thought it was such a bad little
Star Trek model.
It's not bad at all, really. Maybe it just needs a little love.